In this video, I'm going to cover our order management capabilities. The PFA Zone Suite comes with functionality that allows us not only to place and submit orders directly from the chart, as well as manage them. As you can see towards the right side of my chart, we have multiple lines and/or labels. These are a representation of my order management in which I wish to place or submit my orders with the corresponding stop, trigger line, and targets. Before moving forward, let's understand what these labels are and what they represent. We can see that we have the green label here. This represents our entry price. The red label represents the stop, the gray represents our trigger line, and the green represents our target. Understand that we can have up to 3 targets, but for video purposes, I've selected only to have 1, and I did that from within the Order Inputs menu window. On each of the labels, you'll notice multiple different items. The first item from left to right is going to be the number or amount of contracts or shares in which you are trading. The second is the price value in itself. Further to the right, we have the RR or risk to reward in ticks. So we can see here that we're risking 82 ticks. And furthermore, we have our risk and reward in currency. We can see here that this particular trade would be risking $1,025, and we have all of the same items on each of the labels. So I can see here, whereas I'm risking $1,025, I'm however going for a reward of $5,975. I have found this to be an extremely positive confidence booster. The next thing I want to bring your attention to, currently you can see we have dashed lines. What that means is I've made manual manipulation to the order management, and therefore these are now fixed values. If I go up and make a change to my entry, it is not going to make any further calculations to my stop nor my trigger line and targets. Again, they are now fixed. If I'm unhappy with where they are, or I would like for them to go back to their original state, I can simply left click the outline of the zone, and there's my button to reset those orders. I'm going to left click once, and as you can see, all of my order management labels have indeed been reset to their original state. If I make a manipulation to the entry, notice the trigger line as well as the target are also going to be manipulated. The reason for this is all based on our mode. We're going to left click our Order Inputs menu. We're going to bring up our window, and since we're using the counter trend, I'm going to go into the counter trend orders category by left clicking, and here is our multiplier mode. Since I have it set to variable, it is therefore using the multiplier, so in this case 2 times the variable or volatility in the market. So every time I move my entry, the target as well as the corresponding trigger line are going to be moved as well. If, however, I make any alteration to the stop or to the targets or trigger line, I'm now stating that I want to override those automated calculations, and there we will see those dashed lines. This is now fixed. I'm going to close out my window by left clicking the X button. I did not choose to make any changes at the current moment. And now I can see my labels. Again, what I want to do is just walk through this once more because I'm actually going to submit an order here so we can see the functionality. I'm going to make a manual manipulation here. Let's hypothetically say that I would like to place a sell order on the low of this zone. As we can see there, I can move it anywhere within that zone, on the zone, anywhere I would like for it to be. So currently I'm going to place it at the low value of the zone. As you can see, the price label is here, $25.96. And I'm going to manually alter now my target to be just above the opposing demand zone. I'm going to alter my trend line to be approximately 50% between the two. Please understand that throughout our methodology, this is extremely methodical. However, for video purposes, I'm trying to move through this relatively swiftly. Now that I have everything exactly as I would like for it to be, I'm going to left click the zone so that my interface is there for me again, and I'm going to left click Submit Orders. When I submit the order, it is indeed going to submit a live order to the account which you have selected in the order inputs window. Let's go ahead and submit this order by left-clicking Submit Orders.
Order pending.
As you can see, a live order has now been placed at the exact price value of $25.96. We still see all of our labels that are here as well. When the order is filled, we will indeed see the labels on the live order as well. If at any time I don't want to see the labels, I can simply return to my user interface. And now, as you'll notice, only the CT option is there because those are the orders in which you're attempting to manage. So I can left click, and as you'll see, all the labels will disappear. By left clicking once more, they will return. Once the live order is submitted, we can still go make alterations, and this is very important. I could go down and make changes to my target. For example, I could move my target up. I could move my trigger line up. I could also move my target down, my trigger line down. Again, I can make any changes here that I want, and the order in itself, the underlying trigger line as well as target, are being altered. So in the event price comes up, our order is filled, instantaneously the bracket order will be submitted with the live order. Our stop will be where the label is, and we will have our target set down currently at the value of 23.61. I'm going to walk through that once more. When I submit a live order, I can still make alterations from the chart to my trigger line as well as my target, depending on how many I have on the chart. Now that we understand how to use the order management, there are a couple of very important keynotes that we need to spend a little time on. The first of which is handling our disconnections. This could be, for example, internet connectivity issues. Perhaps your computer loses power. There could be multiple reasons in which you would lose or be disconnected from your broker. And it is indeed very important for you to understand how the orders are being managed. Not all brokers handle OSio functionality. OSio is an acronym for Order Cancels Order. When the orders are submitted, there is a tag which goes along with it called a bracket order. Depending on your broker, some and most do accept bracket orders. However, you would certainly want to contact your broker to confirm that information. Let's walk through a couple of the very common scenarios in which this could occur. Let's say that we lose connectivity, perhaps our internet is down, or again we lose power. If we've submitted an order, but yet the order was not filled, if we lose internet connectivity, that would mean that I now have an order sitting with my broker or on the exchange waiting to be filled. However, in the event that that order is filled, our corresponding labels and or the bracket functionality will be irrelevant. In other words, we will have a sell limit order that potentially gets filled, and it will not have a stop, trigger line, nor any targets connected to that. We would call that an open or naked order on the exchange. Please be aware, this is very important. You want to, number one, confirm that your broker is capable of OSio orders. Number two, please be aware of how the orders are handled in the event that you do lose connectivity. This does lead me into a second common scenario. Let's say, for example, the entry was indeed filled before you lost internet connectivity, and the exits have been also submitted. If we come up, price were to come up, hit our entry, it is indeed filled, the bracket order is submitted instantaneously to the broker, and in which case, so long as your broker supports the functionality of OSio, your targets, stop, are indeed held on the exchange. Let me walk through that once more. If our entry is filled while we remain active and we've not lost connectivity or having any issues, our order is going to be submitted to the exchange with the bracket order tag attached. At that point, the target as well as the stop and of course the entry which was already filled is indeed going to be held on the server in itself. Please once again confirm that with your broker. I'm going to take those two same scenarios and I'm going to discuss how NinjaTrader in itself handles the reloads. What would a reload be? If you were to change time frames or go to a different market, or if you were to right-click your chart and reload NinjaScript for any reason. Let's go back into that first scenario in which the entry order has been submitted but not yet filled. While that entry order has been submitted and it is remaining on the chart, if I were to change my chart or force a reload in any way, and as I mentioned, I could go up here, change the market, I could change the time frame, I could right-click my chart, select Reload NinjaScript, and of course, that is going to force a reload. Additionally, there are some items to be aware of. Anytime in the drop-down menu, if we have a Reload Settings button and we left-click that, that will also reload the NinjaScript on the chart. Essentially, once we've submitted an order, it's a good idea not to make any alterations to the chart at that point. In the event, however, that we do, not to worry. What will occur is a cancellation of the order in itself. As opposed to leaving a naked order there, the order will be canceled in itself, and at that point you would need to replace the order. In that second scenario where the entry was actually filled, in this particular case, the exits are going to remain. In other words, they're not going to be canceled. You're probably recognizing a pattern here. At the end of the day, we are canceling any orders that could be left naked, and we're trying to leave our target and stops for any orders that have already been submitted. This is standard practice throughout the NinjaTrader platform. So let's go ahead and walk through that. If this order gets filled, the bracket order submits the tag to the exchange in itself, and at that point it is indeed server side. I will repeat this once more, so long as your broker supports that functionality. Let's say that that has occurred. We have our live order submitted, our targets, our stops, our trigger line all submitted. At this particular time, I decide to go make an alteration, change time frame, change the market, reload the NinjaScript for any reason. What is going to happen, the orders in which were already submitted or altered in any way, at the current moment, it would be the trigger line here, as well as the target down below. The target in itself is going to remain active, as well as the stop. However, any trailing stop or trigger line functionality will be lost. So you would now need to go back and manually trail the stop for that particular trade. Let me repeat that. If the order is indeed filled, the bracket order is submitted to the exchange, and in which case they're now held server side. So long as your chart is still open and active and no changes are made, the trigger line and any additional functionality, trailing stops, etc., would continue to function, just as a strategy would. However, in the event that any recalculations are made, i.e. the chart is changed and so on, as we've previously discussed, that is no longer the case. The orders that were submitted to the exchange will remain, however, no additional functionality will occur. If you wanted to come back and move your stop at any given time, or trail the stop, or make any further manipulations, you would need to come back and do that manually. And there's one final item to conclude our order management. We did say earlier in the presentation we would circle back to our trade data box. I'm going to left click my zone, and I'm going to reset those orders. So I'm just going to left click here. As you can see, we've reset the orders back to their original state. And now I'm going to left click my tools menu followed by trade data box. I'm going to left click show data box to enable it. When it pops up here, we can see that the order labels are a direct representation of the trade details in themselves. If we look over here at the green target, we'll see the value of 25.28 quarter, which corresponds with target number 1, 25.28 quarter, thereof the short trade details. That is because this is a supply level. We'll also notice here that the remaining values line up. For example, our stop with a price value of 26.17 even, you can see that here, your stop price 26.17, the entry price 26.07, as well as we could also enable our demand level below. I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to disable by left clicking, and I'm going to disable my orders. I'm going to now go down to my demand level, going to left click, enable my order management labels, and then we're going to see the same corresponding values, but in this case we're going to see them to the long side. As I can see here, I have a stop price of 24.38 quarter, corresponds here with my stop price, entry, as well as my targets, all corresponding. You can see here target number 1, 25.27, 25.27. For video purposes and for further understanding, target 2 and 3 are identical, and that is because in the back end or the order inputs, we selected a value of 0, which essentially is the exact same thing as saying the entry price itself. So if we match those up, target 2 is equivalent of the entry price. Thereby, these essentially become irrelevant.